this up in like 45 minutes because there's some like thinking homework that's going to come with each of these days. And I know a couple people emailed me that they're going to be specifically catching the replay. But thanks for being here. I am very excited about this 3-day workshop. So this is the first time that I have delivered this particular series in this kind of setting. These are definitely conversations that I've had with people that I've coached and mentored. But this is going to be fun to do this together. I like to think of this kind of like a workshop almost, much more than a presentation. I don't even have slides for you. So I don't like slides anyway. Like if you've been to my trainings in the past, you know, I usually put like 3 emojis and like 2 stick figures on slides and then have that be my slide. And I still might do that sometime, but today there are no slides because these concepts that we're going to talk about are ones we can just talk through. And at the end of the day, I want to hear a little bit from you guys about the things that we're talking about. So let me give you a little bit of an idea of what to expect. So today I'm going to give you an intro, just a little bit about me. And our topic for today is going to be on your unique method and how you create results. Then tomorrow we're going to build on that. We're going to talk about lead generation and how you find the people who are looking for what you do. And then the day 3 is on creating maximum value, which can mean a couple of things, right? It could mean closing those sales conversations, signing up clients, but also at the end of the day, retaining the clients for a long time by creating value for them. So that's what we're going to talk about over these next 3 days. And the way that these little workshop sessions are going to work is I'm going to present you with some information. We'll talk through the concepts, and then we'll spend a couple of minutes at the end back and forth. I want to hear kind of from you where you are at and what questions you have so we can make this really interactive. But then you're going to have homework. So I've done workshops where I give you a workbook. This time I'm doing it a little bit different. You are going to get an email after this session and after each session. And your job is to reply to the email with your best answers. So it's not like a test. It's like a thought email. Like after you've been going through these concepts, you should have some idea of what these answers should be. And if not, then I can help you figure them out. So you'll get those emails for today and tomorrow. And then on day 3, what I'm going to do is just as a thank you to you for going through this 3-day workshop with me, I'm going to give you the opportunity to schedule a one-on-one call with me so that we can talk through your business, your coaching method, exactly how these concepts apply to you. And that call is just a coaching and mentorship call as a thank you for participating in this. And you'll be able to use that info and run with it. And obviously, if it makes sense to you, I will give you some information on my mentorship and CERT program if it makes sense. But either way, I'm going to give you that coaching call so that way you can take the concepts that we cover over the next 3 days and really use them. I remember Kira and I did a call after the last round of workshops that we did. And we even did multiple little touches back and forth on the ways that she was using those things. And so that like makes me super happy when these are directly applicable to like what you're doing in your business. So first off, like a tiny intro to me. So if we have not met before, my name is Christy Campbell. I am the founder of a company called Fit Me. Fit Me is a coaching company, an online coaching company that helps people create diet-free and sustainable change. And so I help them with their habits. I have a team of coaches all over the country that help people make those changes. So I found coaching. I found like creating Fit Me through my own journey after having 2 babies, 10 knee surgeries. I was 40 pounds overweight, didn't recognize myself, like didn't know how to eat, had grown up on all the junk food, and a coach, just an incredible personal trainer changed my life. Like he gave me back that piece of me that I was missing, the part that I thought I could never access again, or that I thought like, oh, well, now that I'm a mom, that just part of me is gone. I'll never feel good in my clothes, or I'll never, like how I look. And he gave that back to me by teaching me the basics. Like he taught me out how to work out hard. He treated me like an athlete. Like he told me to eat food and drink water and not eat out too much. I mean, it really was the basics, but he changed my life. And because he changed my life, I like stopped doing all of the things I had my like college degrees in and decided, okay, I'm going to be a coach. And I spent 4 years as a personal trainer, CrossFit coach, weightlifting coach, and then nutrition coach. And so I did a lot of reps, coaching in person and getting to know, and babies are allowed to cry on this call. That is 100% okay. And so I got the opportunity to kind of be with people in person, to understand bodies, to do lots of reps. I did one-on-one nutrition coaching business for a couple of years and built that up, and then founded Fit Me, which was sort of like my jive, my passion, like that, this my special niche of where I wanted to help people. And so I've just had the opportunity. What I like to consider is like what I've done isn't special or reflective of like me being some kind of superhero or something like that. By nothing like that. It's just a reflection of consistency, having really good guidance and mentorship, and just not giving up. So wherever you are at your business, like if you are just at day one, or if you are building something and getting ready to scale, or if you are, in a stage where you're just like starting to build up your client roster, that is, I understand those spots. And so if you are consistent, if you apply the stuff that you learned today to the best of your ability, you are going to be able to move forward. So it's not luck. It is something you can do. And doing the hard work that we're going to talk about today is going to make it easier. At the end of the day, you still have to do the work, right? But ultimately, having direction and clarity around some of these things is going to help a lot. So today we're talking about, does anybody have any questions, I guess, before we start? Either about what we're going to cover or anything? Okay. This is something I've learned over time. It's like, give a quick break before I just like dive in, just in case. What we are going to talk about today is, how do you create a method that reflects your passion, what you're excited to help people with? And then how do you attach a product suite to that? So, right, like if you have a method, some way that you help people go from point A to point B, and then you have these different products or services, how do you create that? Some people will tell you that you should create things that you think will work, right? Like it seems like logical advice. And you've probably even said it yourself. Like, I would like to create a blah, blah, blah program, but I'm not sure if it would work. Or like, I'd like to do coaching this way, but I'm not sure if it would work. I would like to, write a online blog, but I'm not sure it would work. And what we mean by work is, will people buy it? Will people get results? Right? That's usually what we mean. But we also sometimes get sold the idea, and it's really easy to get wrapped up in like, will people buy it? Will they want it? That's not bad. I just think it's backwards. I think that's a more difficult way to create your products and services and to come up with your method. Thinking about, will people buy this, will end up having you in a place where you end up reworking things a lot. It's like a longer route to get to where you want to be. And so I want to propose that we think about something a little bit differently. If we can think about this entire conversation, not around like, will people want this and will people buy it, but will what I create get people the results they want? And can I create something that will get people the results they want? Do I see a problem that I can solve? If there's any question that I want you to take away from today's training, it is that one. Do you see a problem that you can solve? That is the question you want to answer. It's like, not can I build a group program that people will buy? Do I see a problem that I can solve for my person that will get them results? And so by the end of today's training, and the email that you're going to answer for me is going to be, what problem do you solve? You should see a problem and say, I can solve that problem. So what problem is that you solve? How are you uniquely fit at solving it? P.S. These aren't questions that I came up with. A very good friend of mine asked me these questions a couple of years ago. His name's Sean Pastuch. He's the founder of Active Life RX. And he asked me these questions and they blew my mind because I could not answer them. So what problem do you solve? How are you uniquely fit to solve it? How do you solve it? That's our method that we're going to talk about. How do you solve this problem? And who has this problem? If you can answer these 4 questions, now what you build, whether it's a product, a service, a coaching package, or whatever, is going to make sense. Everything that comes after this, like how you market it, how you create engagement, how you, generate leads, cannot happen unless you do this part. And sometimes, and you get to go through multiple iterations of trying to answer these questions. So if you just answer and you're like, that's kind of right, but not quite, that's fine. That's the process of trying to answer these questions. You are going to find that some of the first words that come out of your mouth are your words. The way that you think of the problem, the way that you think of how you're uniquely fit to solve it, how you think of how you solve it. They're going to come out from your reference. That's going to be step 1, and that's fine, but you don't get to work from there because we have to push past that to understand how your ideal client, the person you're super excited to help, how they would describe it, how they describe the problem that you solve, how they describe why they would choose you and why they would say, yeah, she's uniquely fit to solving my problem. And why they understand how you solve it. They have to, how their words of how you solve it matter way more than yours. And they have to understand that they have it. So this is like a 2-sided coin here. So I thought I would give an example. This example is really helpful. And then we're going to talk about a method. Does everything I said so far kind of make sense? A little bit different way to think about it. So when I ask people, I'm like, okay, well, tell me about your method. How do you help people get results? Sometimes they get kind of confused and they're like, well, I help people lose weight and I help people feel better and I help people do this. I'm like, well, how do you do that? And they get confused. They're like, well, first I do this. And like, then I'm going to help them reboot their metabolism. And then I'm going to help them build muscle and function. And then I'm going to help them, balance their hormones and blah, blah, blah. And all of that, again, that's your trainer talk or your understanding of what happens for them, but it's missing their understanding of it. And once you get this in their words and their understanding, it's going to help you build out the steps and the offer. And so here's how I want you to think of it. Imagine that Christy Campbell, I have a house, which I'm in right now. And my house is like, we bought it. It's kind of an old house from the 80s. This is like half true and half not true. I don't like the color of the paint. It bothers me. I drive by other houses and I'm like, oh my God, like my house is the worst house on the street. Like I probably should paint it. Hang on, I'm going to pull these blinds down. Okay. So I'm like, I should probably paint my house. Like, I don't like how it looks. And plus the paint's peeling. It's probably drying, rotting the wood. I'm aware of this paint problem, right? And I think about it. Every time I look at my house, I think about it. But I haven't pulled the trigger on it because there are a lot of things that are intimidating about pulling the trigger on doing anything. 1, I know it's going to be expensive. 2, like I don't really like working with contractors because everything the timeline gets extended. 3, I don't know what kind of questions to ask about paint. And like 4, I get really overwhelmed with choosing what paint color it should be. Like, what if I pick the wrong color? Like, I probably should look through like a bunch of magazines and figure out like what other people think is a good color before I even remotely pick a paint color. So I have all of these pain points that are stopping me from pulling the trigger on fixing my house paint. even though I'm completely aware that I don't like it and that it needs to be changed. So one day I'm on the internet and I'm just like, whatever. And I get an ad. Maybe the internet heard me telling my friend that I talk about paint. So it targeted me with this ad. And it was like, we make your house beautiful. We paint houses. Like, DM me for a free consult, or like put your name here for a free consult. So I put in, it just hit me just right. That's how most of those actions are, right? Like it just hits you right in that right moment. You're thinking about it. You're like, fuck it. It's easy. I'm doing it. So I'm going to do a free consult. We'll just see. So if the painter comes to my house and he starts explaining to me all of his credentials around paint, all of the kinds of paint that he loves to use and how they last for an eternity. He gives me 75 million paint options because he's got so many. He has this repertoire of paint. He uses all of these people that help, with the project. He's telling me all of these things that he thinks matter because he's the painter. He knows that they do matter. Like the paint choice matters. The guys that work on the job matter. Like the fact that he's got all this experience matters. Like it does matter, but none of those matter to me. None of those are my pain points. And so if he starts explaining to me this jumble of all of this stuff that he thinks matters about why I need to get my house painted and why he's the right guy to do it, I still probably am not going to pull the trigger because it's too intimidating and he hasn't addressed my pain points. One, he didn't ask, but two, like he doesn't have a method that addresses my pain points. He doesn't know me. If I'm his ideal customer, he doesn't know me because he came to me with all of the things that he thought that I cared about. And I don't care about any of those things. When we talk about knowing your ideal customer, we're not talking about just knowing the results that they want. Like, oh, I know that person wants to lose weight or build muscle. It's understanding them and their pain points in their actual life. So if the painter comes to my house and he's telling me all this stuff and he literally can solve my problem, even if he has a good deal, even if he's like maybe the best deal, I still might not do it because he hasn't addressed my pain points. I'm still afraid I'm going to pick the wrong color. I'm still afraid that the job's going to get delayed or might not get finished. I'm still afraid of all of these things that are problems for me. So if you can imagine that instead the painter comes to me and says, I'm so glad that you set up this consult today. I know you want your house painted. Like, tell me a little bit about what you're thinking. Let me tell him the things. Like I'm embarrassed, when people drive by, I want my house to look awesome on the street. I see all these things. It makes me want this. So I get to tell him why this matters. Then he says to me, okay, I have a 4-point method for painting houses. What we do first is I come over and we do a simple assessment. This assessment takes 15 minutes. We're going to walk your house together. We're going to talk about it. And so that you have a really clear idea of what the project will encompass, right? And P.S. I'm not a painter, so I'm just like making this shit up. So if you're like, I'm a painter, this doesn't make sense, don't come at me. I'm not a painter. I'm just giving you my made up version of this. So then he goes, first, we're going to do this assessment. We're going to come up with we're going to understand exactly what your house needs. Then we're going to sit down at the table together and I'm going to give you a recommendation of the top 5 paints that I think would be great for you. These are 3 of my favorites that I know are popular colors right now, and 2 more that I think, based off of what I've seen in your house and your blah, 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 that would look really beautiful. So you're going to have 5 to choose from. And that's going to help you a lot because you're going to feel really great about the ones that you pick. So we'll have a paint color picked out. Then the next thing to expect is I'm going to go home and within 48 hours, I'm going to give you a timeline. You will get a signed timeline from me that says when we will start the project, when the guys will show up, and when the house will be completely finished, with the possibilities of like an addition. You are going to see all of the timelines with, possible extensions written in there. So absolutely when this is going to be done. And he's like, and then step 4, on the day of, you are going to see that my guys come and leave no trace We come, and when we leave for the day, like there's not paintbrushes for your daughter to eat, or, crap all over the floor for the dogs to get lost in. We come and we go, you don't have to worry about that. And then step 5 is another walkthrough where you get to sign off on the project is done, and you don't have to make your second payment until you are satisfied that the job is done. How do you feel now about moving forward, like with this project? He will have outlined for me his method. He could call it whatever he wants. It doesn't matter. It could be like the Bill the Painter success plan. It could be the whatever, but I know there's 5 steps. And so then when I'm talking to my girlfriend the next day, and this is exactly how this works, you guys know this is how it works. You say, I decided I'm gonna get my house painted. And they're like, what? That's amazing. Like, what, like, how'd you pick the dude? And you're like, honestly, like this dude took away all, you justify by reciting all of the things that were worries for you. Have you ever done this with a car? Or have you ever done this with like a big purchase where you're like, you've hit and checked all of the like rational check boxes that you needed to check? Well, he said I could do this, and he said that this is a thing that I don't have to worry about. And so you recite those to someone else because those are the ones that matter to you. And then you feel rationally like this was a great decision, all because he had a method that addressed my pain points to get me the win that I wanted. The win I wanted was my house to look awesome. Maybe the win that your client wants is to lose weight. Maybe it's to build muscle. Maybe it's to like have, more energy. Your person wants some kind of outcome, but it doesn't matter the reasons why you want to get them there or how you think you are going to do it. You can know that, but at the same time, your method has to address their pain points and give them wins along the way. And so my wins along the way in this like painter example would be like from the very first moment, like I get the win of having a plan. I don't have a plan. Now I have a plan. That's a win. Second win I got was I got the color picked out. It doesn't stress me out. That feels like a win. Like if that's an overwhelming thing for me, the third win that happens is the project is happening and I have a timeline. It's actually happening. And the fourth, so the fourth win is it's done and we've done this assessment together. Those are wins that matter to me. And so his method perfectly aligns with that. So what I'm suggesting to you is when we talk about what problem do you solve and how are you uniquely fit at solving it? How do you solve it? And who has it? Once you can answer that question, now you need to build out the plan. If you're sitting with them in their living room to take them from point A to point D or point F, right? Like it, and then along the way, there should be A to B, B to C, C to D, D to E. And it only matters what their wins are and what their pain points are. And then you can attach timelines to it and outcomes. Another way to think about this is that 10 out of 10 people that hire Bill the Painter have that exact same experience. They get those same exact wins. It is what he could be known for, why someone would refer them to him. It wouldn't change just because I pick a different color paint, it wouldn't change. I would get those wins. So if you are having, like, say you have an initial 8-week program or something, and an initial 8-week time with you that someone signs up for, what are the wins that they are going to get? The time frame is 8 weeks. It's step 1. You're going A to B. What are the wins that 10 out of 10 people are going to get? Then step B or B to C, same thing. Next, we're going to go here. These are the wins you are going to see at the end of this time frame. Next, we go C to D and so on. And maybe you have 3 and maybe you have 4. I wouldn't have like way more than that. But your method, your unique thing can be totally unique to you. Does that kind of make sense? I want to take a break for a second so we can talk about this. Does anybody have this right now already? Like feel really strong about it? Tell me, Jen. I know we've been working on it, so.
Yeah, I feel like I do a decent job of it when I'm talking to like family members or my husband who's walking up the stairs. But like for the most part, when I get on that sales call, I feel like I stumble a little bit through it. So like I basically put it in like 3 phases. My first phase is where you come in and we're going to assess and identify where you're at, whether that's we start with your personality and then figuring out where you want to see yourself go. And then phase number 2 or step number 2 is where we're going to take those things and we're going to build goals off of those and action steps that are going to get us through that first real tough steps of like the first month or 2. And then my third phase is where we're just going to continue to reassess on top of those and build even further to get you that end goal that you set when we were assessing and identifying. But so I don't feel like it flows very well though. And this is where I feel like I stumble through it because I'm like, blah, 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 blah. And I think it needs to be more clear, or I need to use more words that the client wants to hear versus like my coach words.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. Like what you're saying makes sense to me. As a coach and trainer, but if I was like a new person with a lot of anxiety and fear, I mean, remember like what I described with the painter thing is most people, like if they're not happy with how they feel in their skin, they know, they've been thinking about it for a long time. They've probably tried other things. They've been burned, so this isn't like a new concept to them, but they have a lot of pent up, anxiousness around it. So take your very first phase. Tell me it again.
Yeah, so when we first, after signing up, we go ahead and assess and identify who you are at your core. And then moving forward, we start defining like what your end goal is.
Why does that
like
matter to why does that matter to your person? What pain point does it address for them? And what win does it give them if that's phase 1?
Yeah, so I think identifying who they are and how they work, like their personality, for me makes a huge difference because that helps me understand how to coach them. I don't know if that's really going to help them at all, other than when they can read about themselves, they identify with their weaknesses and what's drawn them back previously.
Do they care if you are able to do they even know that they could have someone who doesn't coach them well? Is that like a pain point that they know?
Probably not. No.
I mean, you care, which is good. It's like knowing that the paint quality is good. Like you should care that you're a good match for them. But what do they care about in the beginning? What's one of their initial fears of getting started with you or getting started on this journey?
That it's not going to work.
Okay. That's
one.
What
I hear a lot.
Okay.
That it's not going to work.
So how could your phase 1 address that pain point?
I need to create a quick win for them in some way, whether that's like their first 5 pounds that they're losing, whether it's they get that first full night of sleep because they haven't been sleeping well. Like things along those lines are the wins that I think about that happen usually after we start working together. Those are the things that happen the most. Like their energy goes up as well. But I think I get people the most that come to me and they just want to lose weight. And so that is what I want to focus on. But how do I do that without just saying, hey, you're going to lose 5 pounds? Because I can't tell them they're going to lose 5 pounds, because if they're not doing the work, then they're not going to lose the 5 pounds. I think this is where I'm struggling the most. I think it's just getting across what I really want to help them with.
Why are you uniquely fit to solve your person's problem? Why you?
I believe that I'm a good fit because I've been through a lot of things behind the scenes. This isn't going to come out right.
It's okay. There's no judgment in this room. So
I've struggled with my body image and weight for a long time as well. It has specifically started when I quit smoking. And that was my big kicker for myself. That's what started my healthy path. like where I wanted to go. And so I myself have struggled with the same things that they're struggling with.
Okay. I think that that's the first, like, I'm more compelled by what you just said than the other stuff. Like, to me, you sharing something about this first phase that connects with the fact that you are intimately familiar with how difficult it is to change a habit. Like quitting smoking, everybody understands that's hard. And so to me, like, you have a reference point that if they are like completely terrified that they're not going to be able to stick with it because they know they haven't before. If your first phase addresses that fear, like, I know you've signed up for things before that you haven't been able to stick with it. I understand. I tried to quit smoking 5 times before I actually did it. So once I actually did it, there were some key changes that I made, and I've incorporated those into trying to quit smoking, but you are trying to like move this boulder, and you are trying to change what you do every day. So in phase 1, we do blah, 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 so that you can, whatever that win is, you can be confident these are changes you're going to stick to, because when you do them, you can probably expect to see 5 to 10 pounds of weight loss, and you'll know it's working.
Okay. I hear what you said. I'm going to have to definitely rewatch and catch that again. I mean, I hear it. I understand what you're saying. For me to verbalize it has become the issue. I actually feel like this is the one piece of where I struggle the most on closing my sales. I think when I am connecting with people, like through my challenge, like that went really well. And so then they're seeing how I coach, they're being connected to me, they're getting that one-on-one or in that small group that I had, and it came through. And I think that's what's closed those sales that I did close.
Yeah. And this part too, I know it can feel like frustrating or like, why can't I say this yet or figure it out? But I also want you guys just to feel sort of like energized by this. This is where you get to be an entrepreneur. Like, you're building something. And that's why I started this entire training with like, I want you to see a problem. I see a problem that I can solve. Now I get to be creative and come up with a way to solve it. And so there's probably a list of different fears and anxieties that are like, we all are like in the ballpark together of like, okay, like I have a fear of failure and I have a fear of whatever, but I want you to be like intimately thinking about your person. What is their deal? What are they intimately afraid of, or concerned about, or think will get in their way? And so, for example, like maybe your ideal client has an intense background of like a diet history, lots of diet baggage. So maybe your phase 1 includes like tracking your progress that doesn't include the scale. So you're like, I created this way for us to check if you're making progress without you getting on the scale. I have like a 5-point system that you get to rate how you're feeling. You get to be the entrepreneur and create that based off of your person. You think to yourself, they don't want to use the scale. I'm going to create them something that helps us measure together what they're doing. Now you have a unique thing. This is like the, Abby like metric for body change, and you get to like invent shit. And just because you know your person and you know that that's what they need. And that would be like part of this one phase. And then your next phase is again based off of what is their problem and how you're going to get them to point from B to C. So Jen, you're definitely on the right track. You just have to imagine that you're sitting on the other end of that conversation. And what you would be so jazzed about telling a friend, oh my God, I just signed up with like Coach Jen, and like, guess what we're going to do? Like, in the next 8 weeks, we're doing this. And she told me she has a special program that does blah, blah, blah. And then after that, we're going to do this piece because I need this. And then after this, we're going to do this. And I'm so freaking excited. I just signed up for 6 months with her. Like, you should call Jen. That's how referrals, happen with your method.
Hey, Christy.
Yeah.
Can I share something that might help inspire
Sure.
Jen. So
Sure.
I'm a neurotype certified coach too, and I actually probably will go back through my process now because I've been coming up with a different word for the last like part of the acronym. That's, I don't know. Anyway, so this is awesome because it's giving me some ideas. But that first part, that being kind of based on their personality, what one of the other coaches gave to me was a diet and exercise that feels easy and sustainable. So when people are looking for, when they've been very overwhelmed and they don't know what to do, then saying that type of thing in the call was like, so
You muted, Abby. You muted yourself.
my phone started ringing,
That's
sorry.
okay.
In the first phase, we use the personality type quiz to figure out what your personality is and then design the training and program off of that to help you find diet and exercise, like a plan that's easy and comfortable for you. So I don't know if that helps like give you a little bit of inspiration with just like a couple of words that you could use with in your process. It just sounded really similar. So I thought I would kind of share that.
No, I think that that's really helpful, share. And you don't have to even guess about what we're talking about. You can simply ask a couple of the clients that you've recently gotten what were some of their things holding them back from getting started. Why didn't they get started before? And then you'll know the answer. Oh, I thought it was going to be too hard. Oh, I thought I was going to have to give up my foods. Oh, I thought I was going to have to get on the scale every day. Oh, I thought all of the things that, I thought are like the fears that you can address with your method and the pain points. And the good news is like, if you're a good coach, you're a good trainer, you're a good whatever, all of the background that you have is relevant. It's just not relevant when you're explaining your method. And later down the line, they'll be pumped to know that you have all of that and you know it, but making that initial decision to work with you is a big step. And so we will get to that more, like, especially on day 3 of this, where we're going to talk about like closing those sales conversations, but also, maximizing value over time. Does anybody else have thoughts or questions about what we've talked about today? Sweet. Well, we covered all of it. So I'm going to do just a quick summary. So when you're building a product, a service, a program, a method, instead of doing it from the reference point of what's going to work or what's going to sell, I want you to do it from the reference point of what is the problem that I see and how can I solve it? So see a problem, you get to be an entrepreneur and come up with a creative way to solve it. You should know that you're uniquely fit to solve it. And I loved, Jen, what you shared, because I felt like that was exactly what I was getting at. And then you should know who has this problem. So what problem do you solve? How are you uniquely fit at solving it? How do you solve it and who has it? First, think about it in your language. And then you're going to next step 2 is think about it in their language so that you can create a step-by-step explanation of how you're going to take them from point A to point D, addressing their pain points and the wins that they want. So what I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to send you all an email, and then you can just reply back. So you can reply back with your thoughts. If you're stumped, totally fine. Reply back with that. If you want to take a swing at this and answer those questions and then tell me your method, do it. It can take a couple different tries, and writing it out can be really helpful. Do it at a time that you're going to have good clarity. So the reason I say that is because I'm going to send you that email right now. You don't need to respond to it right now. In fact, maybe not. Go for a walk, take a shower, go drive somewhere, eat some dinner, and then if you get good clarity at night, then take a swing at it. If not, sleep on it and make it the first thing you do tomorrow, and then write me back. that is when it's going to sit and make the most sense. And then tomorrow we're going to build on this. Sweet, guys. Was this helpful? Good. No slides needed. I would just rather talk. I should be a painter now. I know all of the painter pain points. And I don't hate my house color. I have thought about changing it. And so that's why I'm aware I wouldn't. It's too painful to make the change.
Hey, Christy.
All right, guys. Thank you. Thank you. Yes.
No, I was just going to say something. We've been trying to, I'm painting right now. If you are looking for gray, you're going to find a million different shades of gray, and some are going to be blue, some are going to be green. So that's my pain point right now.
What would solve it for you? Like, what would feel so good?
Just to find just gray. I just need to find gray, not all of the different shades of gray, just gray. Just, you know, that's the only thing I can think of. It's just like you go in and you look at all of these different colors. I mean, there's hundreds of different colors, and you find one that you think that's going to work, and then you bring it home and it's like, no, that's baby blue when you put it on the wall. It's like, how do you find that specific? So that's when you said that, I kind of resonated with that.
Mm-hmm. What is the problem if you pick the wrong color?
I hate it. I'll hate looking at it every single day.
Yeah, like regret.
Regret,
you'll have like
big time
a feeling
regret.
of regret.
Yes.
So if I was gonna sell you like interior paint and address that pain point, I would like have a questionnaire that asked you some things about your style, make a recommendation of a paint color based off of that, and probably offer you a money back guarantee swap, you know, based off of like, if you hate this, you know, if we get this wrong, you get on us, you know.
That'd be awesome.
You'd be like, in, done.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Sweet. Well, this was really fun, guys. Thank you again for being here. I will see you tomorrow, and watch for that email from me.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Thanks.